Cade Cunningham was just named as one of the best players in the Eastern Conference on a power ranking based on NBA.com. I think his place on the list should be a little bit different. Let's talk about where he should be right here on Top Title Detroit. Let's go.
Perfect.
What's good? Welcome to Top Title Detroit. I am Eric Vincent, your host and Detroit Pistons beat reporter for ClutchPoints.com. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you for tuning in. Before we get to the conversation, let's start by growing the channel by liking the video and subscribing to the channel as well. Getting closer and closer to 500 subscribers. I really think we can make that happen right away, but we need to do it with your support. So please tell a friend to lock in with us here and subscribe to Top Title Detroit. I would really appreciate that love. Let's get into the conversation today, man. Shout out to NBA.com and shout out to Sean Powell, I believe is his name. He is a writer for NBA.com, where he put together a power ranking of the best players in the Eastern Conference. To no surprise, of course, Detroit Pistons all-star guard Cade Cunningham is on the list. Let's go through the top 10 that he actually has, and we'll talk about where Cade is and my views on it. Let's go from 10 to 1. Let's go from number 10, he has Trae Young. 9 is Karl Anthony Towns. 8, he put Jaylen Brown. 7 is Evan Mobley. 6 is Joel Embiid. 5 is Cade Cunningham. 4, he put Paolo Banchero. 3 is Donovan Mitchell. 2 is Jalen Brunson. And to no surprise, number 1 is Giannis Antetokounmpo. Again, no problem with Giannis at all. I think he's going to be the runaway best player in the East for probably a few more years, really as long as he decides. Unless Milwaukee starts taking a tumble down, I don't really see a whole lot of people that are probably going to overtake him at this moment. Giannis is just too dominant, so we're okay with that for right now. Now, let's talk a little bit about Cade Cunningham's placement. I'm not feeling 5. I'm not feeling 5 for this ranking. I don't think that's correct at all. I don't think he should be that low. Now, like we kind of talked about in the last video in terms of team power rankings, I believe that you can have an argument to range different players. So I personally believe that Cade has an argument to be as high as 2, but honestly, for me, no lower than 4. Maybe not even 3, to be honest. We'll break all that down in just a second. But if I were to stack this list up, if I were the one making this list, I would go Giannis. I'll be okay with Jalen Brunson at 2. I personally would go Cade at 3, Donovan Mitchell at 4, and then Paolo Banchero at 5. I might even put Joel Embiid above him just for now. I know he's off because of his injuries and whatnot, but I still think Joel Embiid can be a little slept on, even though I'm not the biggest fan of his and his play style. He still is one of the best players in the league. We can't undersell that, and we can't overlook that, even with the obnoxious play style that he has. But no, I think Cade at 5 doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I don't see the argument of guys like Donovan Mitchell and Paolo Banchero being better than Cade Cunningham. Like, I don't think they've proven that based on last year or really what their careers have, mounted up to for right now. If I were making this a list, I have to take everything into account. So we're going to go with their past accomplishments, what they've done recently, and what I think they can do in the future as well. I don't know how much better Donovan Mitchell is going to be in his career based on what we've seen from him in Utah and his first couple years with the Cleveland Cavaliers. I don't know if he has that much more room to grow and get better. Like, I don't know. I think based on the way that his team is constructed, playing next to Darius Garland, having another star who's also on the list, and Evan Mobley, another great defender next to him, and Jared Allen, some depth behind him as well. I just don't think he has shown to be the third best player in the Eastern Conference. Like, he started off hot this season as being one of those guys, but kind of towards the second half of the year, like, his numbers kind of took a dip down. As soon as Garland started playing better, as soon as Mobley's offensive game started to sprout a little bit, Donovan Mitchell didn't look like this elite superstar level player that would be top 3 players in the Eastern Conference. Like, to me, I don't even look at him as a superstar. I think Donovan Mitchell is a star player on the Cavaliers. I think they have 3 very good star players in the Cavaliers. Like, to me, you have to be a superstar if you are elite level at 2 different areas, have won a very credible award like a championship or an MVP, a DPOY, like something of that caliber. And I don't see that with Donovan Mitchell to really consider him the third best player in the Eastern Conference or to consider him a superstar. He's a very good scorer. He's an elite level scorer. We can give him that. I think he's a very good, I think he's an underrated passer. I wouldn't call him an elite level passer. I think he's very good as a shooter as well. We've seen his 3-point numbers increase and still be surmountable for his game, but I still don't think I would call him a superstar. Like, I don't think I look at anything else in his game. Like, he shot 37% from three last season. That's good, but that's not elite level to a Steph Curry type level, a Karl Anthony Towns. Like, that I don't consider that as elite in his game. I don't think he's a superstar. He's a very good player, but I think you have to have more than just being one of the best scorers and, oh, he has a lot of winning from the team he's on. Like, that's not enough for me. Like, he got a lot of that push with his All-NBA selection and his All-Star starting selection because his team was winning a lot. And team winning could be due to many different reasons. And when you look at how the Cavaliers played, it would be very disingenuous to say they were where they were solely because of Donovan Mitchell or primarily or only because of Donovan Mitchell. That's just not true. Evan Mobley broke out and played fantastic last season. Darius Garland got off to a really good, not say got off to a good start. He was kind of shaky a little bit to start the season, but he was a lot better as the season went on for the Cavaliers. So due to that, I can't sit here and say that Donovan Mitchell is a superstar or the third best player in the Eastern Conference. I'm not with that at all. Jalen Brunson, I'm totally fine with him being number 2, being better than Cade Cunningham. I think with what he did in the playoffs, with what he's been able to do for the Knicks on a team that doesn't really prioritize a lot of depth. Like, they have stars on that team, but a lot of what he was doing, again, he's a good passer, a very elite scorer, one of the best clutch players in basketball, but a lot of what he did, especially in the playoffs, was on the back of his carrying as a scorer. And as an undersized scorer as well, I got to tip my hat off to that. I think Jalen Brunson deserves the nod that he's gotten. I'll give him his respect. Again, I don't like the foul baiting and the flopping that he does so often because he doesn't need to resort to that. He's talented enough to score and produce without that. I'll give him his credit. I think he's phenomenal without that. So to me, I would call him a superstar, and I would say that he is probably the second best player in the East. Going down to Cade, again, I believe he has a range. I think he could be arguably the second best player or maybe the third or fourth at worst. Actually, no, I don't think he's the fourth. I don't even think that would be sufficient enough. I think Cade should be no lower than third on this list. I don't think he should be any lower than third on this list. Paolo Banchero, one of my favorite players in basketball. I love watching Paolo's game. I do think there are some areas that he needs to kind of fine-tune around in terms of his defense, his efficiency as a scorer. I think that matters for him. And I think what we've seen, too, with the Magic, they're one of the worst scoring or offensive teams in the entire NBA. So knowing that, it kind of makes it hard for me to put him up on that pedestal over a guy like Cade Cunningham, who literally lifted the Pistons from being one of the worst teams in the NBA with no other stars or proven decorated players around him. Like, all the guys around him were either young players or in new situations. For a guy like Paolo, who's been playing with Franz Wagner for a while, and the rest of the core around him, and then you just add, obviously, Desmond Bane. We'll see what they do next season. But based on what they were last season, I've paid attention to Orlando Magic Twitter. Y'all are having an argument about who the best player is on the team right now. There's been an argument whether Franz is their number 1 or if Paolo is their number 1. My opinion would be Paolo, but I understand the argument for why they say Franz. Even though Franz, he's a bad 3-point shooter as well, kind of like Paolo, I still believe that conversation alone kind of makes it a little iffy in terms of who we're ranking and calling an elite level or star player and one of the elite level players of the Eastern Conference. Franz isn't even on this list, on this top 10. He's nowhere on this top 10 as of right now. So for me alone, I don't know. Based on the winning that they did while Paolo was injured, the way he emerged, Franz, in his game without Paolo on the floor, that gives him a lot of credibility, and I'll give him his props for that. But I don't know. I can't sit here and say that Paolo was the fourth best player in the Eastern Conference. Again, he's not an elite level passer, not an elite level defender, not an elite level shooter. His measurables are elite. Again, I love the way he handles the ball. I love the way he drives to the rack with force. Again, but there's some areas he got to improve on. Even his free throw shooting, he's like a 72% shooter. Like, that's not good. That's pretty bad for your primary guy, especially with how much he shoots and handles the ball. That's got to be upticking around 80%. So Cade Cunningham, to me, I think is a no-brainer and should be at least the third best player on this list. Again, I keep leaning on this argument, and I think this is strong enough. Cade was able to do what he did last season with 26 a game, 9 assists, which was top 3, top 4, if I'm not mistaken, in playmaking, and then the 6 rebounds as well. Also one of the more underrated defenders in the NBA. I don't really see that. Again, he did all of this without a great core around him. I think the core was good, but again, there's no other stars around him. His second best player, Jaden Ivey, got injured. Isaiah Stewart missed a good chunk of the playoffs because of a knee injury. And even Asar Thompson, he missed a good chunk of the first half because of the blood clots. And Cade was still, throughout all of that, with a new coach, new front office, just a new environment, and a lot of turmoil that's been going on through the 4 years of his career. He has been an elite level producer for the Pistons as much as you could ask for, especially going back to last season, being named an All-NBA player, making his first All-Star team, getting the Pistons to their first playoff spot since 2019, winning their first playoff game since 2008, and he showed up every single time. He didn't go as a no-show like Jalen Green did. He didn't, the moment wasn't too big for Cade when it was time to show up. He was there despite all the double teams he felt, the triple teams he was feeling. Like, he showed up and looked like every bit of a franchise-level star that you would want to build your team around. Now, of course, Cade's not a perfect player yet. I still think he needs to drastically improve his three-point shooting. Like, that dip he took in the second half of the year was kind of hard to watch. It's possible because he was tired dealing with so many double teams and not having Jaden Ivey next to him and not having enough consistent shooting outside of guys like Tim Hardaway Jr. and Malik Beasley and Tobias. Like, I understand that from him. So that was a big point of emphasis in this game. I think he needs to improve that with his shooting. He definitely has to improve some of the turnovers. Like, those can't be as high as they are in a consistent manner with as much as he's carrying and shouldering the load of playmaking and facilitating for the Pistons offense. He's going to have to get better in that department. But based on what we've seen thus far with the lack of support around him, everybody else that I've mentioned, Giannis had another all-star around him. Brunson had, 2 other all-stars on his team? I just talked about the other all-stars on Cleveland. Cade or Paulo, did he have an all-star? No, it was no other all-star on Orlando. But you can make an argument that Franz has looked like an all-star level player. Like, has he not looked better than a lot of the other core guys on the Pistons team? I think that's fair enough to say. And with that considered, they were playing fine and better without him anyway. I don't think if you take Cade Cunningham off the floor for as much time as Paulo missed, the Pistons aren't still having the same success and making the 6th seed getting into a playoff spot without Cade Cunningham. I just don't see that happening, especially if they were still dealing with Jaden Ivey's injury as well. Like, I don't know. I think Cade has done enough looking at himself as an all-star, again, with the limited resources around him, dealing with so many changes. Like, I can't help but wonder and think, and of course this is all hypothetical, but I can't help but wonder, what would Jalen Brunson look like if he were playing on the Pistons roster last season? Like, I just wonder about that. Again, he's a good player, he's a fine player, but it's a little easier to do what you're doing when you have other stars around you, when you're not being doubled all the time or at the rate or the amount of Cade was. I just don't see the same ability for Cade to kind of take plays off or be able to kind of chill or coast when the next ball handler next to him, or the second best ball handler next to him with Jaden Ivey got hurt, was Dennis Schroeder, your 6th man. Like, I'm sorry, I just don't see that. Like, I like Asar Thompson, but his handle has to get a lot stronger. His playmaking needs to rise a little bit better in terms of in the primary situations. I think he needs to give a little bit more to kind of stamp, himself as the, derivative player for the Pistons in their future. But looking at where they are now, I think Cade has been way more impressive than a lot of the guys I've talked about based on the scenarios that they're in. I don't know how many other guys could do what Cade did, even back to the Monty Williams year. Yes, that's a wash because of how many games they lost and how much suffering that they did. But Cade was still putting up the same all-star level numbers that Paolo Banchero was through the midst of all the struggle and the turmoil that he had to deal with benching Jaden Ivey, playing Killian Hayes, playing Isaiah Livers, starting 30-plus minutes, dealing with just a core of guys that did not fit on that roster. James Wiseman, Marvin Bagley, like, bruh, they have not had any real cohesion really for the entirety of Cade's career. And it's just now getting to a point where maybe we're going to see that, assuming the young core stays healthy and Karis LeVert and Duncan Robinson can step up and fill in well for Malik Beasley and Tim Hardaway Jr. That's all to be seen. We don't know what that's going to look like yet, but hopefully, assuming the Pistons stay healthy, I think it's possible that Cade does take another step forward and makes the Pistons that much better than they were even from last season. I don't know. I think 5 is kind of low. I'm not feeling that right now from him. I think he's done enough. I think he kind of undersells the value that he's brought into this team. I think it proves that he's still kind of slept on through the NBA. Like, I don't think guys like Steph Curry should have been making an all-NBA team higher than what Cade Cunningham did. Steph Curry was not better than Cade Cunningham last season. That's just a fact. I'm sorry, he wasn't. There's a lot of guys I think they get a little bit more prop for their team success for what they actually did to get to that team success. That's just how I see it. I think Cade should be 2 on that list, maybe 3 at the very worst. I think he has an argument to be better, considered better than Jalen Brunson. But people don't put him there. I totally understand. But I think 5 is kind of low based on what we're seeing, based on who's on this list and what Cade has done versus everybody else on this list. But talk to me in the comment section. I would love to hear from you. Where do you think Cade ranks on the best players in the Eastern Conference? Do you think he deserves to be 5? Should he be higher? You think he should be lower? I mean, if you're crazy enough to say that, I want to hear it. Talk to me in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. I'll be doing a write-up pretty soon, I'm pretty sure, on clutchpoints.com, so you can lock in with me on there to check it out. And you can tap into my social media as well, at I am Eric Vincent. We can have a conversation on there as well. Thank you all for so much for tuning in. I really appreciate your time. Again, please like the video and subscribe to the channel as well. And I'll see you again soon right here on Top Title Detroit. Peace.